Welcome back, homebrewers, to the Malt Miller YouTube channel. In these two 10-litre pressurised fermenters is a project that Martin and I are both equally excited and slightly nervous about.
In the last video, James here introduced us to the Fermenter King Junior range from Keg King. It's a range of affordable pressurized fermentation vessels. So James, what's going on here?
In the last video, we talked about how we were going to go one step further and actually put the range of fermenters to the test. And that's exactly what we've done. In these two 10-litre Fermenter King Juniors, we have lager, we hope. We have brewed a lager, which we're going to talk you through in a moment, of what process we've been through, what journey these two lagers have been on. But first and foremost, it was 2 weeks ago. So these have been sat doing their thing for 2 weeks, and we want to see today whether we've been able to turn around an awesome lager in that short time frame, which I know is something that absolutely flies in the face of everything we've done before.
Yes, James, in the last year, I've been brewing a lot of lager, and it takes a lot of time. You know, the fermentation can be anything from 2 to 3 weeks, and then the maturation period of like a month or 3 months.
Yep, I know, right? We always think lager is time. The clue's in the name, right? Lager stands for kind of time, maturation, leaving something to mature for a long period of time. So I'm really excited to understand whether we've been able to use the techniques we talked about in the previous video to our advantage to turn around an awesome lager that we can be really proud of in a far, far shorter period of time.
It's a beer that's not going to hide any flaws, really. So
Nope.
I'm really excited to see what this is like.
Before we even think about putting a tap on either of these fermenters and trying the beer that's in them, we're just going to take some time to talk to you about the process that we went through, the recipe we used, and then the journey that this beer has been on since it went into the fermenters. So to start with, Martin, what was in the malt bill?
Okay, so the recipe, we want it to be really clean. So I've been working on a non-decoction lager recipe for a while, based on the Budvar experience. But what we wanted to do is we wanted to use just a single kind of almost a clean base so we could actually taste any off flavors and not hide anything in there. So it's got 4 kilos of Pilsen malt, and this one's from Crisp.
Yep.
It's also got 300 grams of Carapils, just to add a little bit of foam.
So a completely simple grist that is not going to be able, you're not going to be able to hide behind it in any way from a floor perspective or off flavors, right?
Yeah, we've removed those kind of malts that you would normally put in here to give you that kind of beautiful breadiness. We've taken out the melanoid in which I've been using. It's just purely clean.
Yeah. And then we've used SARS as our hot addition all the way through the brew. And we had 20 grams of SARS at 60 minutes as our bittering addition. Then we had another 20 grams at 30 minutes. And then a final addition of 20 grams at 15 minutes, just for a little bit more bitterness, but actually we're layering on the aroma there that you get from that wonderful, wonderful hop. This is the really interesting bit. What we've done is we've actually used 2 different yeasts. That's why we split our batch into 2 different fermenters, so we could actually try out 2 different yeasts, right, Martin?
Yeah, so this was one brew, and we wanted to use pretty much the most common and popular yeast for using on lager, which is 3470.
Yeah, a really, really safe, versatile lager yeast, right? It's happy in a variety of temperature ranges, renowned for its clean fermentation profile, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then we've got the Budvar yeast from White Labs, and typically this is the yeast I use a lot, and it's a 9 degree that you would be fermenting at. So it's a little bit different what we've done here.
Yeah, we've gone completely like different ends of the spectrum. We've gone for something incredibly safe and renowned for its versatility. And then we've gone for a yeast that we know and love, but we also know has to be treated in a really particular way. Otherwise, you could end up with off flavors and that kind of stuff. The brew day was pretty straightforward. We did a single infusion in a brew in the bag system that we've got here. We mashed for 60 minutes. We pulled out the bag, let it drain, got all of the goodness out of the bag, did a 60-minute boil, layered in our hops, added some kettle finings. I think we used some Brew Bright and some Protaflock in this because we wanted to end up with a really bright beer.
Yeah.
And then, as we said, split it into 2 fermenters after we chilled it down. What did we do after that?
Nothing. We just let these sit out on the side in our lovely warm warehouse in the summer, where the temperature can fluctuate from anything from 10 degrees at night to 25 to 30 during a hot summery day.
Yeah, saying we did nothing is probably a little bit of an exaggeration. We did fit them both with a spundy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And we did set the pressure to 15 psi. We topped up the fermenters with CO2 before we set them and left them. And then, like you said, we literally did nothing. And we left them in the warehouse with all of that temperature fluctuation for a period of about 7 days, when we may have just taken a little sample out to see if fermentation had been complete. And then after that, we put it in our cold room to cold crash, and it's been sat there for another week. So since that first 7 day period where we wanted to make sure that fermentation had finished, nothing has happened to these. They've just been sat in a cold room, cold crashing, and we're now going to move on to actually getting them out and seeing how they taste.
I can't wait, let's get them in the glass.
Neither can I. There we go, Martin. We have 2 glasses of beer each. The one on our left, your right, is the one that's been fermented with the 3470. And the one on our right, your left, is the one that's been fermented with the White Labs Budvar yeast strain. Well, I think first off, Martin, let's have a look at appearance. Both are pretty bright, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, you've had to move these from the chiller downstairs to up here for us to put them on the table. So,
Yep.
you know, if you were at home, you would be pouring from the same location you've chilled them, I
Yep.
guess.
I mean, the 3470 is a touch hazier than the Budvar yeast strain, but I mean, there's really not much in it, and you'd be totally pleased with that if you were serving it at home, wouldn't you? Let's go in for aroma.
I mean, I can't stop sniffing it. There is no real, there's no sulfur,
Well, no,
it smells,
Like a
as
lager.
Richard would say, lagery.
it does. It smells like a lager. Both of them, I mean, they do smell different. There's a slightly more estery coming off of the Budvar yeast strain, but there's no off aromas. It's not like there's a problem there.
I think the Budvar ones look slightly more golden as well.
Yeah, the 3470, well, I've used that yeast loads of times. It smells exactly the same, and if you've used it yourself, you'll know exactly what it smells like. There's an ever so slight, pleasant and desirable sulphur tone to the 3470, but as you would expect with some lager yeasts. The Budvar yeast strain, I'm not getting any of that.
But this is lager yeast
Yeah,
that is
I know.
sat here, room temperature, even higher than room temperature.
Yeah.
And it's not eggy, it's
No.
not,
It's not off, it's not Fausty, it's
lagery.
it's lagery, right? Come on then. 3470 first.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cheers. You've not even put any extra gas on this to serve them, have you? You've just let the natural carbonation do its thing.
Yeah, actually I reduced the pressure in the kegs down to 5 psi just for serving.
That is outstanding.
Are we going to get any work done this afternoon? Because that is absolutely fantastic.
I could smash that.
Oh, and it is bready. There is like bready undertones coming through from this one with the 3470, which is obviously being derived from the malt. It's clean. I'm blown away. Right.
I've moved on, sorry. I couldn't help myself.
Let's give this one a go.
Cheers.
The White Labs Budvar yeast.
This takes me back to being in the cellars at Budvar.
It does.
You know, that beautiful tank fresh beer.
Yeah. I'm a little bit speechless. Those lagers that we know and love, like Budvar, have had 3 months in tank, 14 days odd for primary fermentation. This has been turned around in 2 weeks, and I'm getting honey, I'm getting bread basket, I'm getting a little bit of toast, and I'm getting all of that wonderful yeast character that we know and love from that Budvar yeast.
Has a little more sweetness to it than the 3470.
Yeah.
7 days fermenting, and then 7 days in the chiller. Fermenting at room temperature.
Yeah.
Chilling for 7 days.
Yeah.
Outstanding. Give it a month or two, it'd be even more.
But Martin, what have we been doing all this time?
We could easily skim weeks off making great lager.
Now, we're not saying this just for, you know, the joys of a YouTube video. These beers are absolutely outstanding. For that space of time, I'm speechless.
I kind of now understand. So I've got friends who are turning lager faster than I am, and they're doing it with pressure fermentation, and I kind of understand how they're smashing it out of the park with what they're doing in such short spaces of time now.
I know. Right. These beers are so good. We're doing them a disservice because we've just been pouring them through a normal tap on a short shank. There's only one other thing we can do here. We need to connect this up to a side pour tap and see how it pours. I'm sorry, Martin, I had to do it. A beer of that quality needed to be served in that way. And look at it. Lovely, creamy head on there. I'm going in for another.
Can't believe you just gone off and literally attached that to the Luca tap.
Let's get a bit critical now then, Martin. When we do this again, because we are absolutely going to be doing this again and fermenting a lager under pressure, what would we change so that we end up with a beer we are really, really, really proud of?
Definitely melanoiding. I'd adjust the malt bill.
Yeah.
I'd do a bigger batch so we've got a keg each to take home. That's
Yeah,
about
absolutely.
it, really.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'd work on the malt bill just to add that extra layer of malt breadiness to it, right? I mean, if it were me, I'd be really tempted to actually do our double decoction method that we learnt when we were at Budvar, invest time into the brew day, and then ferment under pressure and see where we end up after a week of fermentation on that style of things. See if we can really, really replicate what took us 3 months.
Or we could do what Rob normally does, where he takes the first run-ins and then boils them down to add more complexity into it.
Yeah. There's a load of different methods we could do to add kind of malt character. But what I think we've done here is proved that you can take yeasts at opposite end of the spectrum for lager fermentation, use this method, and end up with a beer that is absolutely wonderful.
I think the other thing is, James, it's not. We're talking about this from our point of view as people who are brewing lager already, and we've taken a learning about speed and reducing off flavour risk. Those people at home who haven't got the ability to do temperature control, it's proved that actually, if you've got a pressurised vessel, you can do lager without worrying about any of the temperature.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you were somebody that's brewing in an apartment or on a stovetop, you know, doing smaller batches, 5-10 litres, you could use one of these to ferment your beer in, serve it, and you're not limited to style.
Yeah, and you've got the natural carbonation on it, which I think does add a slight difference to it as well.
Absolutely. I'm absolutely blown away, Martin, and I'm really pleased we did this. Right, okay, well, I think it would be silly of us to stop in this series about pressurised fermentation after just doing this project. There's definitely more scope for us, Martin, and what I'd love to do is actually use one of the larger pressurised fermenters from Keg King, maybe the Apollo.
Yeah, that'd be good. And I'd also like to try and do some different beer styles. Again, so we can just see how the temperature effect has on there, the time effect.
Yeah, pressure.
And the pressure from the vessel.
Yeah, maybe we do something hoppy next time and see how we get on with trying to make sure we don't mute that hop aroma by fermenting under pressure. This has been awesome, and hopefully we've inspired you at home to have a go at pressurised fermentation yourself. If you're somebody that's already fermenting under pressure, we want to hear from you. Put some comments in the comment section below, because we want to know what you do, what your successes have been, and the lessons you've learned along the way, so we can learn from them and we can pass those on to our customers.
Yeah, we certainly learned from this video and from the previous one.
Absolutely.
And I think we can do a lot more with this.
Absolutely. All that remains now is for us to say, please subscribe to our channel. It really helps us out. Hit the bell for notifications, give us a thumbs up, all of those usual things. Also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. And definitely check out some of the other videos that we've got on our channel, and tune in next time where we're going to be looking at how we can continue our journey about understanding and learning about pressurised fermentation. Have a great brew.
Cheers.